Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with another one. It is Brian S. Arnold here, and I have my new good friend here, Josef Stetter, and he is here to help us land our dream job now. Is that right, Joseph? Not later, but now, right?
Yes, and Brian, thank you again for having me on the show. Basically, you know what? Unfortunately, with COVID, 60 to 65 million people in North America lost their job. And my purpose in life is to try and guide them on how to get back on their feet and kind of get that perfect job for them.
Great. Awesome. I can't wait, but we shall see what he can do for us today. We shall see, Joseph.
All right.
On this current episode of The Authority Project.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, feast your eyes and tune your ears. It's that time again. We are live with another episode of The Authority Project. It's the video podcast streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, where we talk to digital marketers, business coaches, and creators of all kinds on how they've built authority in their field and how you can mimic their success. Developing authority, building your audience, and attracting better clients to your own business. Now, without further ado, let's bring to the virtual stage your host, Brian S. Arnold.
All right, we are back, peoples. We are back. You are the project. We want to slap authority to your name so you can sell more of what you're great at. And we're here with Josef Stetter. And it is his mission, right? Your mission to help people find not just a job, not a regular job, but the dream job. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. So, you know, I was gonna say something like, how dare you come on here? We usually just talk about business, finding a business. You're talking about a dream job. But for some, a dream job can be like what they need. This is what they want. You know, they want a certain thing, right?
So here's the thing is, like, I fully support entrepreneurship and kind of getting there. But sometimes in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to get a great paying job in order to pay for your business, for example.
Yes.
Right? The other thing is, again, even if you think not everybody's ready to own a business. So if you're kind of like, you know what, I'd rather have the paycheck every 2 weeks and I want to know that my bills are taken care of, my family's taken care of. Great. That's kind of what I'm here to do, where I can kind of go, you know, whether you're a new immigrant, whether you're a new graduate, whether you've been laid off, whether, you know, you're more mature, you know, you have a criminal background record. I've helped all of them succeed. I've helped over 11,000 people kind of in their path to finding great employment. The fastest I've placed somebody or helped them find a job is 2 days. And most of the people that I've helped, 90% of them get hired within 2 months, kind of thing. So awesome. I've created a few systems to help people that they don't realize they're not doing. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to share today.
Awesome. So that's you professionally. So you kind of already dived into my first question. Who are you personally, Joseph?
So I'm a recent father. I have a beautiful 9-month-old daughter that's now teething. So we're going through that. Again, in terms of both business and personally, like, I did not know what I want to do when I grew up. So I switched careers 9 times. And I switched jobs about 18 times. And then I've also been in recruiting for nearly 20 years. I've recruited for companies like IBM, Deloitte & Touche, Tata Consulting Services, Apotex Pharmaceuticals, Aecon Construction. And then somewhere along the lines, I was so disgusted, I'm going to use the word disgusted, by how bad career services are in colleges or universities, that I actually wrote a few books. One's called Canada, Congratulations Your Heart, It Was Easier Than You Thought. And one's called USA, Congratulations Your Heart, It Was Easier Than You Thought, in which I did the homework for people. And in the process, I've helped over 11,000. Now, beyond the professional, I'm an avid salsa dancer. I've performed and competed for 14 years. I teach self-defense as a hobby. And I'm one of those people that, you know, I'll try anything once with the exception of drugs, kind of because I'd rather do something and fail it and go, at least I did it and I have a story about it, than kind of regret not doing it, kind of thing. And honestly, this mission, like as I see what's going on in the world right now and how many people are affected, let's say by COVID, I kind of want to go and here's the message. Here's what you need to do, because yes, a lot of people are suffering, but what's suffering is the retail. But if, let's say, a lot of call centers right now are virtual, so you can work from home and work for a call center and probably make more money than you did in retail and have potentially better conditions. And so my purpose is to try and show people not only that there's jobs available, but where to find the resources and how to use the systems to your advantage.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. So is there a current project you're working on right now, perhaps?
Well, again, I've got multiple projects on the go as an entrepreneur and as someone who is kind of always trying to innovate. So I've created an online course that's only $97 to help job seekers pick my 25,000 hours of experience and dedication to this model of kind of here's how you get a job. In my recruiting business right now, I'm recruiting full stack developers, medical people, and various professions across kind of Canada and United States for both in most industries, because I've been a generalist as a recruiter. And at the end of the day, there's a level of, again, I want to make an impact on the world. I want to leave a legacy that I made a difference. And my way of making a difference is to kind of go, you know what? Yes, be an entrepreneur if you're ready for it. But if you're kind of in that stage where, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I need to pay the bills, right? Let me get you a great job. And then as you get a great job, I can give you some tools on how you can start your business part-time. And then once you're ready, you can have both, or you can kind of choose which one you want, kind of thing.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So last question before we dive in here.
Sure.
What is your daily routine, Joseph? What does that look like?
Well, wake up between 5:30 and 6:30 when my beautiful daughter decides that she's up.
Of course.
Right. So play with her for the first couple of hours because I let my wife sleep in and enjoy kind of the day. Yes. Then again, generally do some kind of self-reflection, you know, journaling, positive meditation type of things to start the day. Reinforcements. Gonna kind of look at my to-do list. I'm very kind of diligent in making sure that I have that. And then again, because I have two different businesses, it's like, okay, what do I need to do for recruiting today? What do I need to do for the job seekers today? Like while I was calling you, I'm writing somebody's resume who's a fire engineer kind of thing. And so he asked me to customize his resume so that he can get better opportunities. So I was like, okay, I need to do that. And generally, again, my wife during the day is with my daughter most of the time because she knows that I'm kind of go between meetings, between calls. And then I'm in charge of night duty. So I wake up at night too to feed my daughter and make sure she's okay.
Yes. Awesome.
Right.
I love it.
And,
I love it. Work-life balance, right? Work-life balance.
Exactly. And enjoying even these craziness of being locked down and trying to find kind of creative ways of, you know, spending quality time with my wife, spending quality time with family, you know, calling friends and checking in on them, calling people and just, you know, trying to be normal as normal can be kind of thing. Yes. Right. Because I don't know how it is in Boston, but in Toronto, up until pretty much we're still in major lockdown. So nothing is open, no restaurants open, no coffee shops. So So we've been in kind of a model like that. It's been like 2 months where you cannot go out. Like you can order takeout, but you cannot go out. You can't do your hair. You can't do your nails. You can't eat anywhere. So
okay.
You know, what are you doing daily kind of fluctuates from, okay, what seems to be an area that needs to be focused on today versus like, I'm going to go to business meeting because all the business meetings are on Zoom right now. So it's
Okay. I did not know that. Oh, well, we were looking for better days, obviously, for the people in Toronto, of course. So,
well, yeah, again, we're trying to kind of control.
Should I say more outside days?
Well,
going outside.
Hopefully, our politicians will actually get their act together and actually start ordering vaccines. But that's a whole other conversation.
You're getting real political. It's been a very politically infused couple of years, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's do it. Let's first of all talk about what a dream job is supposed to feel like. What is that supposed to feel like? Oh, I would say maybe look like too, but what does that feel like when you have that dream job?
So there's an old adage that says, when you enjoy what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. Right. So here's the thing. If you look at the statistics of why people leave jobs, salary is actually number 7. The number one reasons that people leave their job is because of how they're treated. Right. Like super micromanagement, no opportunity for advancement. Nobody appreciates their insights. And this is where, if you've ever watched the show Undercover Boss, I love the show Undercover Boss, right? At the end of the show, the executive's like, oh my God, I should talk to the people that work here. I might get some insights on how to run the business better. kind of thing. Right. Like, I love the fact that people get recognized and they get, the breaks that they need. And but the essence of, maybe I should talk to the people that work here and I'll get some insights as to what makes it. So a dream job is not necessarily a title, because each person makes a decision on kind of 4 things: security, income, growth, or happiness. Whichever one they put first, that is part of their dream job. So if you're kind of looking for security, you're usually more engineer, accountant, let's say teacher, because there's always jobs for that. If you're looking for income, you're usually sales and marketing type of there, or very, very good software development, for example. If you're looking for growth, it's about learning. So it's about not necessarily your job title or your pay, but what skills can you learn? So if you've never led a team, will they give you an opportunity to lead a team, even if it's small? And if it's happiness, it's the satisfaction that you get from going to your work, like let's say working as an early childhood educator, where you get to play with kids and you get to see them smiling and you get to see those moments of, oh my God, this was so cute. That's what happiness is for people. So it's not a black and white, this is the perfect job and I'm telling you this is what you should do. It's kind of what are your interests? What are your priorities? Where are you in life in terms of focus? Are you driven by, I need to make a lot of money right now? Or are you driven by, I want to have a lifestyle right now? Or are you driven by, I want to relax and enjoy my time, kind of thing? And that's what makes the perfect job.
Yeah. That was perfect, dude. That's perfect how you define that. So that's great. We're off to a great start here. So, okay, how do we do it? Do we just send out a bunch of resumes, every single day? That's how we do it, right? Just send out the resumes.
That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you could do is just send it, because most people, let's say, use Indeed. Now, Indeed, prior to COVID, was getting between 350 to 5,000 applications for one job postings. Oh. Now that COVID is hit, it's 4 times that. So you're talking about like 1,200 to 10,000 applicants for one job posting. And most companies look at the first 100 resumes that they get. Okay. Right. So if you're 101, you're out of luck. That's
like you're scrolling through Google and you only do like the first 2 or 3 pages, if that much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So I've kind of created, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So for example, most job postings in North America say, don't call us, we'll call you. And most Americans or Canadians go, okay, I'll wait. But you want something in life, be proactive, go get it. So call the company and say, listen, I've been having internet problems all day. Can you check if you received my application? Right? Or my computer just crashed. I'm not sure if my application went through. The moment that they check if your application went through, you're now number 1 on the list because they pulled your resume. Right. Now, if they pulled your resume, you have 2 minutes to give your elevator pitch and kind of say, here's the top 2 achievements I've done that you should know about to consider me for this role. So now you've planted that seed that says, I want to talk to Brian, for example, because he's got achievements. Yeah. And you also, because you're on the phone, you can ask permission, like, when are you going to start interviewing for this role? So if they say we're going to start interviewing next week, say, okay, if I don't hear from you a week Monday, for example, right, can I call you to check how I can improve my resume and get feedback because you're the expert on what I can do to make my resume stronger. Now you've got permission to speak to them again. So if they've interviewed, let's say next week, and they didn't find somebody they like, you're reminding them that you're coming back into the picture. And it creates that opportunity for you. Now, in that, let's say, and here's why I say just blasting out resumes is the worst thing you can do. Because although Indeed is the most popular way of job seeking, in my opinion, it probably has less than a 5% success rate. Because Indeed scores your resume in 3 ways. And most people don't understand this. Number one, when was the last time you updated it? So if, let's say, you lost your job in October and you posted your resume on Indeed and you haven't touched it and we're in the end of February now, you're probably on page 6,000 of the database. Nobody will see your resume. Second thing that most people that Indeed scores your resume is how many times technical words related to the job that you're doing appear. Most people, when they write a resume, focus their time and their energy on putting in the action words like manage, direct, liaise, communicate, coordinate. But if, let's say, you're doing social media marketing, that's not what I'm looking for in social media marketing. I'm looking for SEO. I'm looking for organic growth. I'm looking for lead generation. I'm looking for specific words related to that industry. So fill your resume with those words. And most people, let's say, and then the third thing that is a mistake, and there's kind of 5 mistakes on a resume that I'm going to get to in a second, right?
Awesome.
But the third thing on Indeed is that a lot of times people write like chronological or functional resume. So if they took a part-time job right now, let's say at McDonald's, just to pay some bills, and they put that first on their resume, nobody sees them for what they're actually good at because all they see is McDonald's. So like the databases like Indeed look at where's the points of relevance located on your resume. So that if it's on page 2, you score very low on the matching that Indeed looks for, right? So like, for example, every night, Indeed and most of the major databases like Glassdoor, Career Builder, between 11:45 p.m. and 2:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, they go in and they do their daily refresh. So depending on when you go to bed, go into your resume, press space anywhere on your resume, save it. The moment that you press spacebar, it is now considered a new resume because you've refreshed the resume.
Nice.
So now you have a better chance of being seen because you're not on page 6,000 of the database, right?
Right.
If you have the technical words populating your resume, like, if I'm going to use a simple one because I've recruited a lot, let's say in accounting, right? So I don't need managed, direct, liaise, communicated, and all those other action words. I need accounting, accountant, financial statements, general ledger, income statement, balance sheet. Those are the words associated with accounting. The more you splatter that on your resume and the closer it is to your name, the better you are as a match when Indeed makes matching for job searching kind of thing.
Wow.
Right.
I love it.
Now, if I may spend a couple minutes to also, because this is very important and it ties in. There are what I consider to be 5 cardinal sins on a resume. Okay. And I'm going to start with kind of a reference to, have you ever watched the movie Legally Blonde?
Of course.
Right. Do you remember what was unique about Elle Wood's resume?
Yeah, she had perfume on her pink resume.
Pink and perfume. Now, I'm not saying you need a pink and perfumed resume, but any little thing that you do to stand out that breaks the eyes will get you noticed. So even, let's say, changing your headers with a different color, like your favorite color, breaks the black and white, gives somebody, oh, okay, and it draws their eyes into specific things so that you have better chances.
Okay.
So the first cardinal sin, and this is why I pointed it out, is the majority of the population writes their resumes in Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri, because those are the 3 most common fonts. Those are the 3 most common fonts.
I love Calibri. Yes.
Right, but because it's common, you look like everybody else.
Okay.
There's no separation. So again, if I have a pile this big of resumes, how do I know that Brian's the one I want to speak to? Right. Second thing is your bullets. Your bullets are black circles or dots, squares,
The standard.
hyphen, right? Or check
Yes.
marks. Again, you look like everybody else. If there's, let's say, 1,000 people applying for a role, how do I know that you're the one that I need to speak to? Because there's nothing that separates you. Third cardinal sin that most people do is that they have a section called skills or career highlight where they write, like, let's say, I have 10 years of experience, I'm hardworking, dedicated, committed team player with excellent communication skills and other useless information. First of all, right. Now, here's the thing.
Why is that useless? Come on now. Come on.
Here's why it's useless.
Experience,
So here's why it's useless.
Okay.
Your definition of hardworking and my definition of hardworking could be very different.
Okay.
Right. So let's say if I use accounting, during tax season, accountants usually required to work 80 hours a week for public accounting. So what's hardworking? 100? Now, if I take, let's say, a nurse that's working right now, COVID, that works 4 hours of overtime because the other nurse hasn't shown up, does that mean that the nurse is less hardworking than the accountant because the accountant's working more hours? No, because there's a different level of stress or there's a different level of recognition. So there. And let's be honest, I've been in recruiting for 20 years. I very rarely have met people that say, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work will be any good, and I really, really hate people, please hire me. Right? Not unless you're sleeping with them or related to them that you might be able to get away with that kind of thing. Right? So saying those words are redundant. Now, if you give me examples of how you're hardworking, now you got my attention, for example. Right? And that's why I say it's useless, because pretty much every role in North America says we need somebody with excellent communication skills. There's no standard of what excellent communication skills is. So Les Brown, one of my favorite motivational speakers of all time, he's made millions of dollars as a motivational speaker.
Yeah. I
haven't made millions of dollars as a motivational speaker. Does that mean I have less communication skills than Les Brown? Right? You have a podcast. You have a great podcast. People follow you. You bring a lot of value to people. So I don't have a podcast. Do I have less communication skills than you? Right? There's no standard for it.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
The fourth mistake, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, is that you write a chronological or functional resume where you kind of go, I did this, and it's in order. So if you have a part-time job right now, and that's the first thing that they see on your resume, they don't read your resume for everything else that you've done. They only read the fact that you've done part-time, and that's all they care about.
So is chronological not a thing anymore, or should that be a thing anymore? Where you
again, it depends on the profession. Like if you're going to work government-related, chronological functional is mandatory, right? Yeah. There's some industries that are still like, let's say, insurance, banks that are very old school. So you still need the chronological functional kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the reality, and this is where like one of the things that I highlight to people is that I want to, like, most employers spend 8 to 30 seconds reading your resume, which means they look at the top third to the top half of the first page of your resume, right? I remember when I was working in finance, after 9/11, I got downsized from Fidelity Investments. And I went to interview at Invesco, used to be AIM Trimark. And the HR person's like, okay, it's great that you've done like all this back office, you know how to correct the transactions, you know, all the processes. But have you ever worked in a call center? And I looked at her and I said, if you flip to page 2 of my resume, I actually worked in your call center for 6 months. Right. Yeah. So they don't read page 2. And that's why, like I say, write a semi-functional, because if you kind of go, here's the highlight reel of what I've done in my career, here's the technical skills that I have, that's all they read. They don't necessarily need to read all the jobs. They just read, oh, you've produced these results. Gotcha. And this ties into my final and probably the biggest mistake of all on resumes. People list their duties and responsibilities. Yes, right? And they tell me what they know how to do.
Yes.
Okay. Companies don't care what you know. They care how good you are at it. And I'm going to give you kind of, we'll call it 2 examples. Brian, if you're an entrepreneur and you need to hire a receptionist, and a receptionist comes to you and says, I know how to answer the phone. I hope you're going to look at her in shock and go, really? A receptionist knows how to answer the phone? I did not know that. Because
Okay.
unless she lives in an igloo, a cave, or is a Mennonite, chances are she knows how to press the green button and go, hello, how can I help you?
Right.
Right? But if a receptionist comes to you and says, I know how to answer 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I can measure 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I cannot measure, I know how to answer the phone. And this is the mistake that most people do because they go, I know how to do it. So if I say to you, so which example would you trust more? If I said to you, I know how to do sales. I know how to do B2B sales, B2C sales, account management, relationship building, lead generation, appointment booking. Or I said to you, I worked for a private college that before I came in did $530,000 in revenue for the year. In 1 month, I generated $860,000 in revenue for them. Which one will convince you that I know sales?
Yeah.
The first one or the second one?
Second one. Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing, and this is where let's say even with you with podcasts, you've done hundreds of episodes as a podcaster. You have an established reputation as the authority project, and people follow the product because it's not one podcast. It's not two podcasts. The more podcasts you have, the more credibility you have that there's longevity, that you know what you're doing, you know how to interview. It's no different in the job market. It's no different in an entrepreneur. You need to show me that you're better. You're going to make me money, save me money, or increase my efficiency in one way or another. If you can't, you're not the person for me, kind of thing. There's a ton of entrepreneurs there, and they're great at what they do. And I'm not dismissing that. And thing in job. If someone says to me, hey, I want to be your financial advisor, great. I have some questions for them. What's your net worth? Why are you asking me such a personal question? I go, because if you're struggling to make rent and I'm potentially going to invest, let's say $1 million with you, how are you going to advise me on $1 million if you haven't earned $1 million, for example? Right. So I'm not dismissing that you might be a great financial advisor, but I'm screening whether or not you're the right person for me. I'm an open networker on LinkedIn. I get maybe 30 to 50 emails a day offering me SEO services and lead generations and stuff like that. Right. Now, here's the thing. When I get these emails, I'm like, oh, I can get, and some of them try to quote unquote personalize it by making a couple of statements. They're like, what's your ideal client? I'm like, have you actually read my profile? Because my profile is very clear as to who I am and what I need, kind of thing. I'm a headhunter. I'm a recruiter. I need companies that need help hiring the right people. I help people land their dream job. I need people that are looking for a job that want to get hired. Pretty straightforward. But again, if you kind of say, yeah, I can do SEO, and I go, okay, give me an example of your SEO. And they go, well, I took somebody from 200 followers on Facebook to 1,000 followers on Facebook. Okay. But if someone says to me, I took him from 200 followers on Facebook to 10,000 followers on Facebook, and I didn't use any bots, I want to speak to that person because the results matter to me. Right. So it's the same thing in the job market where, again, there's a lot of amazing people. I'm not dismissing anybody, and whatever results you've produced them. Right. But part of what people need to understand is if you don't highlight how great you are to companies, and you wait for the interview to do that, you're already lost. You're already missing out. If you're waiting for somebody to call you, it ties into everything in life. I love doing this as kind of an analogy. A lot of people, because let's say that are single, are turning to online platforms to meet someone, especially someone outside their circle of people that they know.
Yeah.
I've yet to meet someone that says, I spoke to somebody online 3 times. What an amazing conversation. I'm ready to get married, kind of thing. Somewhere along the lines, you have to meet, right? You have to make sure that the conversation, the engagement is equally as exciting in person versus on camera or via text or email, kind of thing, right? So you can't get married just by emailing somebody. Right. And you can't get a job by emailing somebody. You need to be a little bit more proactive and kind of say, here's me and here's why I'm different than everybody else. Here's why I'm better than everybody else. Right. And it's up to the company to listen to you and go, we like what you have to say or we don't. Right.
Yeah. That's great stuff, man. That's good. That's great. That's great stuff. So I got a couple more questions, just like
as many as you need.
we talked about your achievements. What are people who are like afraid because they don't feel like they've achieved enough in their previous jobs where, they don't have the credentials and requirements? Isn't that really what does that stand out more when you have those credentials?
No, not necessarily. So here's the thing, and I'm going to use this analogy. When you point a finger at somebody, there's 3 fingers pointing at you. Now, no matter what you've done in life, big or small, you might think this is small and insignificant. But to a company that's hiring you, that might be the most important example that there is, right? Meaning, like, for example, if you worked as an office manager early on in your career and you reorganized a filing system, right? Even if it only had 200 files, but you did it in a day, your organizational skills in organizing the files might be the most important thing to that company. So the moment that you dismiss my achievement, like your own achievements, you've already eliminated yourself from the job. Because, like, look, job finding is very similar to dating. If I tell you jokes and you're not laughing at any of my jokes, I'm not funny to you. But the next person I speak to, I'm telling them jokes and they're in tears. They're like, okay, stop. My stomach is hurting. I'm the most hilarious person they've met, maybe today, kind of thing. It's no different than the job finding is because you have to understand, and I can say this as a recruiter too. Generally speaking, when I get a job order, if my candidate has 60%, 60 of the job description, I think they're a great candidate. Because if they're missing a technical skill like a software, if that's all that's missing, I will pay for you to do the software, to learn the software, because everything else fits. And unless you're a brain surgeon where all they care about is your technical skills and how good you are as a surgeon, most hiring decisions are based on fit. So you and I are having a conversation, Brian. If we're laughing, the conversation seems to be flowing. You're going to make a decision based on that, not on how many degrees I have, how technical my skill sets are, or any of those kind of details, for example. Right. And this is where, like, part of what I'm saying to people is, like, first of all, if you go to interviews and you're not getting the job, find out why. Try to get some feedback from it. Instead of wasting your time on Indeed and spending 8 hours a day there, like, do it once you kind of, the first time, search for a few hours and then save the search and have it emailed to you daily. So you can go and go, oh, I've already applied to this one. I have time now. Then let's say register with agencies, because agencies have relationships with the companies you're trying to get to.
Yes, they do.
So they can get you there faster, right? So, and again, register with multiple agencies, because I assume that half of the agency you register with will not like you. So I tell, let's say, candidates when I speak to them, register with at least 6 agencies, 3 that are like more national or global, you know, like Randstad's and the Robert Half's, and 3 that are local, let's say, to Boston, that are specific to an industry that you're trying to get to, right? I don't know which 3 will not like you, right? But I assume they won't. They won't like your accent. They won't like that you don't have enough education. They won't, just like everything that you said, they will make a decision that you're not the right fit. But the 3 that do like you, they usually work on the same job orders. So when 3 agencies represent you to the same company, that company is going to go, I need to speak to Brian right away because 3 agencies said, oh my God, this guy's amazing, kind of thing. Right? So it ties in, but like, try to optimize your job search, not by doing one thing, but by doing multiple. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Go, I've sent out thousands of resumes. There's no job. Really? There's no jobs? Like, go on LinkedIn, type in any word and tell me there's no jobs, right? There's jobs there. You just got to know the strategy to get noticed, to get hired. Like, you know, can I share kind of a story, if that's okay? Or two?
Sure.
So, for example, when I first started salsa dancing, I had a kind of dance partner that was still in college learning graphic design. And she saw this posting for an unpaid internship in one of the largest telecom companies in Canada. And she calls me. She's like, oh my God, I want this position. I'm like, you really want it? She's like, yeah, I'll do anything. Which, again, I made fun of her a little bit for the sake of I was like, okay, so I'm going to be like your Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. You do not question anything I say. I said, the first thing is you're applying for a graphic design internship. You're not allowed to have a black and white resume because the word graphic and the word design are in your resume.
Yeah.
So we made her resume green. And instead of the black circles, she had like a little dancing character that kind of had hands out for her digital work and graphics. We used that as her bullet points. I kind of wrote how, let's say, her being a barista at a coffee shop was actually graphic design because she was playing with the design of the lattes, for example.
Yes.
Right? Sent her resume in. 2 weeks go by. She called me. She's like, they didn't even call me. You suck. An hour later, they called her. And they're like, listen, we're so sorry we didn't call you sooner. We received 7,400 applications for 20 unpaid internships. Your resume was one of our favorites, right? Now, because we received so many applicants, we're going to do 3 interviews with you. The first interview is going to be in 2 days, right? So she calls me back. She's like, oh my God, they called me. What do I do? I'm like, first, apologize, right? Then I taught her my 7 rules to a perfect interview. I told her to kind of organize all her digital work in kind of simple folders where she doesn't need to log in and everything like that. So it's kind of instantly accessible. And then I instructed her to go and take her 10 best projects, go to like Kinko's and print it on the highest quality glossy paper so that it really stands out, right? 2 days later, she had her first interview. She walked in, portfolio ready, everything ready. 15 minutes into the interview, the director literally puts down his pen and goes, you know what? I've been running this program for 10 years. I have never been so impressed with a candidate as I am with you. Wow. I'm not even bothering with the second and third interview. You're my first hire.
Wow.
Right. And that was 2 days later in terms of job success. Right. So there is a level of there. Now, on a similar note, and this is where I said, if you know how to stand out, it's amazing what you can achieve. So my brother, for example, was finishing his 3rd-year mechanical engineering degree, applied for an internship. By the time one of the companies responded to him, it was going to be more of a paper pusher job rather than a pure engineering job. And he already registered for his 4th-year classes. So he asked me to cancel the interview. I decided to go in as my brother. I studied economics and business. The only thing I know about mechanical engineering is what I wrote for him on his resume. My first interview, there was 100 students from 4 major universities in Ontario, Canada, there. Within 45 minutes, human resource called me back, said, we love you. We need to come back for a second interview. I was like, all right, let's see how far I could take this. My second interview was with the manager of the department that I potentially work with. Now, I spoke the truth about my brother's resume. So my brother was on a team that designed a wheelchair for third world nations that use a tank chain so it can go on any terrain. Came second in Ontario, Canada for the best mechanical project of the year, won $500 from one of the major banks. Told the manager I studied thermodynamics and quantum physics. To this day, I have no idea what those are. Didn't even leave the parking lot. Manager called me back, said, I adore you. I need to come back for a 3rd and final interview. Out of 100 candidates, I made it to the final 3. I was the first one in at 8:30 in the morning. Manager walked over to me and goes, here's your offer letter. The job's yours. All you got to do is pass this mechanical engineering test. I looked at him. I looked at the test. I looked at him. I looked at the test. I'm like, I can't do this test. Manager looks at me and goes, I know you're nervous. Let me help you. He solved the first 2 questions for me. Right? I looked at him. I'm like, listen, I am so sorry for wasting your time. I guess I'm a lot more comfortable with the design than I am with the calculations. I am not the right candidate for this job. Thank you for the opportunity. Manager followed me to the car and begged me to take the job because I'd interviewed that much better than every other mechanical engineer. Right? And here's the thing is, I'm not a mechanical engineer. I just know the system and I know the psychology of what the interview is, and I can do it better. And I do this regularly, like almost once a month, I go and I apply for a job I have zero qualifications for, right? Because I write people's resumes. So I have, okay, here's an IT job, here's a law job, here's an engineering job, here's a this. Why? Because I want to make sure that what I teach people works, right? And that I'm not just telling you, theory. I'm actually applying it. And I'm showing to you, here's how, basically the process kind of thing, right? And this is where I've kind of realized that the reason that most people are stuck and are not getting recognized for how good they are is because they're making the same mistake. They make the same mistake in an interview. They make the same mistake in a resume. They make the same mistake on how they search a job. They make the same mistake in how they negotiate salary. All of like how they write their LinkedIn, how they go networking. It's amazing to me. Just like I go to a lot of networking. How many people are like, oh my God, you sound important. Give me your card. Okay. And then they email me the next day and go, hi, you were at the networking event. Here's my resume. Give me a job. Who are you? Have I spoken to you? Kind of thing. Right. So I actually point out, so like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing purple. Purple is my favorite color. Everything I do is purple. I'm branded purple kind of thing.
Okay.
Right. So like when I go to a networking event, I wear purple. Why? Because if I follow up with you, Brian, I'm like, hey, Brian, this is Joe. I'm the guy that wore the purple shirt. You might not remember my name, but you'll probably remember the purple shirt, for example. So that's part of it. And this is where marketing comes into play, where it's, again, you're applying for a job, but market yourself a certain way. Then don't just come in and be like, hey, I need a job. You haven't earned the right. Speak about them. Get to know the executive. If you go like Brian, if I were to ask you, Brian, if you look back at your career, what are your 3 biggest achievements? Right. And now I'm interviewing you, even though it's your podcast. I'm interviewing you. And that is because you see how you thought about that. You're like, I probably talk about that. I probably there. But if you give me those details, if we're doing a networking event, what are the chances that you're going to cut me off and go speak to somebody else when I'm asking you about your achievements?
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And so you're going to get noticed. You're going to be remembered. So when I send you the email, I'm like, hey, Brian, I'm the guy in the purple shirt that asked you about your achievements. What are the chances that you're going to respond to me in that email?
Dude, this is just awesome. I know it feels like you can go on for like the next 5 hours, and I love it. You have so much information. I hope people are watching and listening to this later. He has so much information. That's what, 20 years? You said 20 years?
And 25,000 hours that I've invested to learn everything there is to know about job finding, with the exception of a few weird Google interview questions. Pretty much, I can cover the gamut.
So I just have a couple more questions, and one of them is this: is like, how did you get here? What made you like, this is my thing? This is what I am passionate about. What got you to this place where it's just like, this is it? This is what I want to do forever.
So here's where I'm going to tie into the beginning of your interview. I switched careers 9 times, right? And because I switched careers, I kind of got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm doing great here, but now I'm bored. And I didn't really feel that excitement or that passion to kind of go, this is what I'm supposed to be about, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I've been in recruiting for nearly 20 years, and I've been a generalist in recruiting. And I started seeing patterns and saying, okay, I just received, let's say, 40 resumes, but only 3 of them are good. Either, telling me that you're really hardworking and you really need a job does not meet my qualification of what the job description says. So if you didn't read my job description and you just sent me a resume because you read the title, for example, I'm not going to waste too much energy on you, for example. And then similarly, like I said to you, when I wrote my books on how to find a job, and I kind of realized there is such a massive gap because nobody ever teaches you, here's how to get a job. There's people that are great. They have that personality, the charisma, and they get hired like that, right? Yeah. And they're always successful, and they tend to. But the majority of this population kind of goes, okay, I went to college or university, or in high school, I did careers, and I was told, say this and say that. So that's what everybody does. New immigrants that come to the US or to Canada go, okay, well, back home, I need to do this, and this is how I get hired. So they do the same thing, but it doesn't work here in North America, right? Because there's different regulations, there's different standards. And part of it is like, I'm a huge believer in self-development and growth. Like there's a lot of books behind me that are all about psychology, leadership there. So like I did Tony Robbins' Walk of Fire, and he spends 5 hours preparing you to walk on burning coals. And after I did it, I had such a rush. And then afterwards I started going, there's concepts here that he's talking about confidence, that if you don't have confidence going to a job interview, you're not getting the job, right? And I make this analogy, like Brian, like if you were single and you went to a woman that you find attractive and go, hi, can I get your number? What do you think your chances are?
Not much, not great.
Not much,
not
right?
Great
because,
at all.
right, because most psychological studies on women say that the two things that women look for in a guy are confidence and sense of humor. Employers, when they interview you, want you to be confident. They don't want the yeah, I'm hardworking. Like, give me a job. Like, they don't want that. They want the person that's gonna make the money, save the money, or increase efficiency. And so the more I kind of did this, the more kind of people reached out to me and like, hey, I need your advice for this. I need your advice for that. And then I had the aha of like, okay, I have 25,000 hours in my head. I guarantee results when I work with you. So you have kind of two options. You can do it in an online course that I've created that's now on kind of sale for COVID for $97 instead of, let's say, $2,000, or you can pay me $2,000 and I'll hold your hand and I get you hired. Because I know all the algorithms, I know the systems, I know how to make sure that your LinkedIn profile gets noticed right away. I know how to make sure that, you get noticed in networking. I know how to make sure that your resume is not a typical resume. In fact, when I write resumes for most people, they go, ooh, this is different. I didn't expect that. Why? Because I wanted to shock the system. I want it to be different, because the more you do to shock the system, the faster your results become. Right? And it's a level where I think there's a massive gap, because a lot of what we've been taught about job finding comes from preparation for the Industrial Revolution. We are now way past the industrial. We're in the technological data revolution. Okay. So we need to adapt where, for example, it's pointless to write that you're hardworking because everybody says that they're hardworking. But if you give me examples, I can differentiate based on your examples. And then what happens is I want to make sure that people decide based on whether or not they like your personality or not, rather than can you do the job or not. Because if I can say to you, I can do podcasts, great. But what does that mean? Do you have a track record? Do you have a proof of concept? Do you have an idea, right? Have you executed the idea? Have you, so there's a level where, again, I encourage everybody to, if entrepreneurship is the path, yes, there's a lot of advantages to being an entrepreneur, but 95% of the population is not ready to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. They have a lot of things going on. They need that security or whatever. So, but again, find it where when you go to an interview, yes, you're looking for a job, but you can also ask questions to make sure that it's the right fit for you, right? And this is where most people that go to an interview are so programmed to say this, and this, like that they sometimes don't even listen to the question. Like the question I asked you, I asked you, what are your 3 biggest achievements? I asked that when I interview candidates. They're like, oh, I really love to work in coding. I'm a very good coder. But that's not the question I just asked you. My question was, what have you done? That's great. Yeah. Right. So part of that, and this is where, especially now with COVID, so many people have mental health issues, depression, anxiety. And part of that is because they lost their job, especially for men. Yeah. For most men, their job is their identity. So the moment that they lose that, they lose kind of a big part of who they are. I'm not trying to discriminate against women, but women are much better with their emotions. Men aren't taught to be good with their emotions, let's say. And so when they lose their job, they're like, okay, but I have a family and I need to be this. And they kind of lose that sense. So I want to bring hope back to people. I want to kind of say, look, you can get hired, and you can get hired right away if you look in the right places, you interview the right way, you write your resume the right way, you optimize your LinkedIn in the right way, you network in the right way, you negotiate salary in the right way, right? Because the more confidence you have, the better. Like, again, and can I share a very extreme example of confidence?
Real quick.
So I was interviewing to be a stockbroker. 3 questions into the interview, I got so angry at my interviewer. I turned around to her, I looked at her, stop! You're asking me the wrong questions. If you want to know if I can do this job, you need to ask me these questions. I took out a pen and I wrote out about like 10 questions, 10 to 15 questions, and I kind of slid the paper to her. Now the interviewer like looked at me like, did you just tell me how to do my job? And I'm like looking at her in her eyes, and I'm not backing off. I'm looking at her. I'm like, yeah. And a minute and a half stare down. She looks down at my questions after like a minute and a half, kind of quickly scans, and then looks at me like, who the hell are you? Looks down, reads my questions, looks at me, goes, okay, you're hired. I need to hire 25 more people. Can I use your questions?
Wow.
Nice.
That's great. Oh man. Oh, this is wonderful, man. I trust me. I hope everybody's getting a good glimpse of this. And hopefully when people listen to this later, I know this is just a ton of value. And I know you have so much more. But I have one last question so we can get out of here.
Yeah.
And it goes something like this. We have similar people. Maybe I'm not sure if we have similar people, but we have similar people with similar interests. They have similar journeys. They want to help people, maybe land their dream job or land a job, if anything. And they want to work in this business of being, a top recruiter and giving people the hope that they want, just like you.
Right.
Can you tell them in your own words how they can become an authority in this space?
So do a little bit more than the average, right? Like I incorporate personality assessments to help me be a better recruiter. I check in with candidates. So there's a level where you're not just asking the bare minimum, but if you find somebody that's really great, you take their resume and you send it to clients that are not even your clients yet, because if they love the resume and they love your notes, you just got them a job and you also just got a new client. And it's just being proactive, just like I said earlier for job seekers, like be proactive, learn. There is courses that you can do in terms of college, university. There's designations like the certified personnel consultant, certified sales professional that you can do that help you understand the psychology of how to deal, how to ask questions, how to be the best that there is. And if you don't know it, find a mentor and get the mentor to teach you. And when you get to the mentor's level or better, find a better mentor or a new mentor. Like I have mentors all the time. I have 5 current mentors that I speak to daily.
Wow. Great stuff, man. Great stuff, Josef. I am floored by your knowledge and your passion, even more so. So thanks so much for being on here. Can you please tell people where they can find you after the show?
So on Facebook, Land Your Dream Job Now. That's the fastest. You can find me on LinkedIn, Josef Stetter. There, I'll be communicating. And then if you join my Facebook group, there's a link to my online course for $97 to help you do this on your own and do it quickly and efficiently.
Awesome. And I'll put a link on every posting that I have for you as well, obviously, with that.
Awesome.
That nice link to there. I think if you've heard him now, I know you want to get after more of this means knowledge, because he obviously gets results. So people, my last little plug, obviously go to theauthorityofletter.com and get on that. And I have a 3-part video series to help you build your authority platform. I give you ongoing weekly real talk letters and videos. I had one last week that are just simple, fun, but useful ways to getting your authority platform going from the inside out. All right. So I'm good. Anything else before we get out of here? I know you have something else for us before we get out of here.
Just again, Brian, I wanted to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of such a great project that you're doing, part of your network of authority project. It's been such an honor and a privilege. And I look forward to connecting with you again.
Absolutely. Yeah. We might have you come back because I have some more questions for you. But we got to get out of here. Everybody, please remember, build it, share it, and they will come. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Authority Project. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, we want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and give an honest review. Share and tell your friends so they can hear too. And for even more authority building tactics, be sure to sign up at theauthorityletter.com. Get free weekly content and ongoing digital product giveaways to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. We certainly hope you got a key takeaway or maybe an aha moment from today's broadcast. Just remember, it's your authority. Build it, share it, and they will come. Until next time.